is this going to be, like, forever? Is this going to be my last girlfriend, as you just said? Is this going to be the person that I really want to, spend the rest of my life with, commit to, family, house, dogs, blah, 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 whatever else you want to commit to?
Welcome back to the Couch Project. I am Greg. Pleasure to have you here. Today we will talk about the fear of commitments, confusion in oneself, and being honest. Enjoy.
Hello, welcome back to the Couch Project. This is your host, Hayden, speaking. Thank you, Gregory. But anyway, welcome back to another week's episode of the Couch Project. If you haven't liked our Facebook page or liked our Instagram page, please go and do that because, that's where we get to annoy you and remind you that we have episodes every week. Anyway, boys.
Amen.
How are we?
Yeah. I'm feeling
pretty heckin' great.
Pretty good
today, Dos. How's our audience feeling?
How are you guys feeling?
Hey, I'm audience. First name audience. I actually have been struggling a bit recently. I've been trying but things keep getting worse. I'm just looking for that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's good.
Nice,
good job,
guys. Proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, Ethan, you probably should have given them more than half a second to respond.
Did they get good?
No, they got quick response
editing.
time.
What do you mean, editing?
Editing,
Just,
boom.
yeah, just boom.
All right.
Boom.
All right, so today, lads, I thought we'd get together and talk about another bit of insecurities. Because you know what? We need to talk about that shit more.
And before we get too into it, we're just going to do a couple of icebreakers.
Yeah, a couple of classic icebreakers to start us off.
We're gonna destroy that.
We're gonna shatter that
turn
stuff.
It into water.
Are we ever going to get to the point where
hydrated?
The ice is just permanently broken, or are we just going to consistently have to break ice?
There keeps being ice, right? Where the is global warming?
Oh, no, guys. Okay, chill. We're all a bit hyperactive right now.
So this week we're going to do take your pick. Would you guys rather be stuck in Westworld or would you rather be stuck in Game of Thrones?
One thing, I don't even know what Westworld is. Is that the futuristic? Westworld's the one where it's like...
It's like robotic.
Yeah, like futuristic?
Yeah,
like
futuristic.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be Westworld.
It's like Black Mirror.
I'd rather Westworld because, like, the plague and that, bro. Like,
yeah, true. There are giant dragons and you're worried about a plague. True.
Yeah,
literally.
If you get, like, an infection, you just die. At least in Westworld, you can get, like, a robotic limb or some shit if you lose a limb.
Hi, what's your opinion, buddy?
I just want to ask Lachlan a question. Am I a f***ing peasant in Game of Thrones?
You're a peasant.
Yeah. You're a peasant. Yeah.
So you're Prefect Kai, actually.
Yeah.
Prefect Kai. So I'm a prefect. I hope prefect is a very
prestigious
held in high regard because otherwise, if I'm on the bottom of like the hierarchy, I just neck myself because I'd rather not.
So what would you choose? What would you choose?
Having the unknown and Game of Thrones, anything but a lord. So I'd probably go Westworld, even though I've never watched the show and I know that it's like Inception or some bullshit. Westworld.
I feel like the ending of Game of Thrones has just ruined everything to do with it.
That's fair. Okay, Ethan,
100%.
Ethan, what would you rather?
Game of Thrones. I'm gonna
Dude,
train
get,
with Arya and become a fucking faceless assassin.
Ethan, you can't even run 5Ks, bro. How are you gonna become...
Wow, that's just defamation of friends right there. We're not about that here, actually.
Yeah. You gotta put him down to bring him up.
You're really bringing me down.
You gotta put him down to bring him up.
Bro, I'm already getting put down enough by gravity. I don't need you as well.
That's why it's so hard to run.
Oh my god.
Damn, anything else?
Leave the man alone.
I want to be a peasant
Okay.
and train to be
That's cool.
assassin.
Tom, what about you?
To take the throne.
I'd just strictly choose Westworld based on the fact that I feel like from watching Game of Thrones and how boring that show was.
Whoa.
Boring? That's a very controversial opinion.
Bro.
I
This dude, get him out of here.
One of the worst adaptations on like medieval mythological.
Really?
Tom, your opinion doesn't matter anymore.
It's
Next person.
One of the best.
Next person.
I
Your
hated
opinion
it.
doesn't
I
matter.
thought it was shit. The only part that I thought was even remotely good was when... Actually, no, it wasn't even good.
You probably haven't made it to
It's
any
like
good parts,
It was like when Jon Snow and...
You just
stuff
probably
like that
watched the
was-
first episode
No,
or two.
I've watched many.
To be fair, it does take a little bit to get into it.
Yeah, 3 seasons, 100%.
It's kind of like
No.
Saya.
Once dies...
Then it's...
Oh, that's a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
I was going to say, it's like Sayo. It's like Sayo, where the first season of the fucking...
This is an Anime Clear series podcast, guy.
You know what? I was saying the first half of The Wall of Isolation was absolute garbage. But you have to watch it for
The second part was way better. You're right.
Elfheim's the best one.
No, okay, get him out of here. Get him out of here.
That's my opinion.
Doesn't his cousin like
Anyway,
that?
That's equivalent to Tom saying Game of Thrones.
All right, Lachlan, what's Lachlan?
My opinion, I would rather be putting Game of Thrones, honestly, just to be able to see a dragon. I think that would be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, you see a dragon for 2 seconds, then
Honestly,
Get murdered.
honestly,
2
worth it,
seconds
dude.
later.
I actually have a second one, just quickly. This is just very quick. What starting Pokemon from the original Pokemon series do you guys pick?
Charmander.
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 I also picked up. We're all just picking Charmander.
Yeah.
We're a Pokemon podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, to get into it, boys, we're all having a laugh and that, but yeah. So today's topic is on the fear of commitment.
Serious topic.
Yeah, it is a serious topic, and it comes from my insecurity, and we're talking about it before the podcast. We think it stems from our parents' broken relationship, I guess. I think a lot of people have split families, and that makes them have that fear of commitment, I guess, because you don't know you were going to be the same as your parent.
Or you worry not to be the same as your parent.
I also think it works the opposite way for people who have had parents that have been together since they were however many years old and still madly in love with each other. I think they have a unrealistic standard
For love,
yeah,
and stuff
and
like
love.
that, yeah.
And
I think it takes a lot of work.
they,
Yeah, but I think as we talked about earlier, commitment stems from many things. It's not just love. A lot of people do associate it with love, but it can extend into so many things in your life. Commitment to jobs, commitment to moving out, commitment to even trying in a relationship. You've got to get past those first hurdles and trust to really build something from it, I guess.
I was just going to say, just like on the same thing, it's not necessarily love, but friendships as well. Commitment to friendships.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to maintain friendships sometimes. I don't know how we've done it, to be honest.
yeah, and we're talking a lot about commitment, but I want to ask, what is commitment to you guys? What would you see as commitment?
I'll go first. I'll take the ball on this one. I see it as almost like a promised engagement for a period of time. That's, if I could give a description, that's what it would be for me.
A specified period of time, or just a period of time? Right, yeah.
But that period of time can be forever.
Could be any length.
That's why I
Any
say
length.
specified.
Hayden, what is commitment to you?
Commitment is... Well, it's hard because I already looked up the definition, but I feel like commitment to me is something that you truly believe in, and... Well, that's what you need to truly believe in to commit to something. So commitment, you can be like have financial commitment, like buying a house, or you can have work commitments, having goals, or you have relationship commitment where you're dedicated to the person and dedicated to their needs and emotions and
I
beliefs.
feel like that's just what maybe you think is what's required for a commitment, but what is an actual commitment?
It's an obligation.
I think I see it as restricting yourself in that field, whatever
So
it is.
I ask you, if you think it's like an obligation, can I ask you what the main difference between an obligation and a commitment is?
Obligation is short-term, commitment is long-term.
I don't think commitment necessarily has to be long-term.
I think obligation is you have to do it. Commitment
Absolute
is
choice. Absolutely. The difference is choice.
Yeah, you have this, and that's where when the fear comes in. You're like, I have this big decision.
I think personally, as you guys just said, commitment is your choice. Like you commit to something, like it's your choice to be made, and of course, an obligation is something that's involuntary and kind of can be shoved into your life, or it could be otherwise. For me personally, I think I live pretty, day to day. So in regards to commitments, I don't really have a lot of those, but I've made a lot of bad commitments in my life to a lot of stupid things. And I find that commitments to me, I don't know, I think are just, they're things that are needed to go through life, and they're always going to be around. At the end of the day, you kind of just have to have them, in honesty.
So your definition is that you have to have them?
Yeah, they're just, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, that's my definition. They're inevitable.
Simply put, I reckon commitment is a promise to whomever it may concern, whether it be another party, person, individual, it doesn't matter what or who it is. A commitment is just a promise.
Yeah, 100%. Do agree.
And
That's a good way to put
I
it.
think my fear stems from breaking that promise. I have a fear that I'm going to break that promise, and I'd rather not get in that. I'd rather not get in that promise than to have the.
It kind of
Really
feels like
break it.
it's an unwritten contract or an unspoken contract.
But
Sometimes it can be.
Sometimes it could be.
Yeah, sometimes it is a physical written contract.
But yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah, depending on the situation, it's
Yeah, I get it.
An
I get it in my
unspoken
head.
contract.
And I'm like, oh, shit.
Tom, you say you live day to day, you don't have many commitments. I'd like to
Yeah.
disagree.
You have a
I think
work
you have a
commitment.
job and a girlfriend. I think you have two very big commitments.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, but I mean, but even so, like, I don't. Let me reword that. I don't commit to a lot of big stuff. I mean, I'm usually pretty easygoing. Like, I commit to stuff quite easily in regards to really weird stuff, like, you know, houses. But the thing is, but big
materialism.
things. Yeah, materialism. I'm usually pretty easy to commit to, but relationships and stuff I struggle with. I mean, I like committing because I trust, but I don't commit very easily in regards to trusting them enough to spend the rest of my life with them straight away. It takes a lot of time, and it takes this really special person for me to actually
I
want to
think you
commit.
constantly check yourself to think that you are still committed.
That's a big thing.
Yeah,
like,
you constantly
to-
check yourself to make sure that you are still committed and like view on your feelings, I guess.
yeah, and I mean, that's a good thing to do, though, because if you don't do that, you tend to black out the whole commitment thing, and you just kind of aimlessly go through life committing to stuff.
I guess
that
you can do it in
isn't
all,
actually
in all
always good
commitments
for
as
you.
well, like financial
Yeah,
commitments.
good or
perhaps.
bad.
Like,
Yeah,
am I still like happy with where I am at with this commitment? And do I need to change anything? Do I add more responsibility, less responsibility? Could be any
Do I
commitment.
want to stress myself out more? Do I want more things to, have to, pay off? Or because, of course, another thing is one thing about commitments is they can feel, a lot of people feel like obligations, like you have to do it. Because if you don't do it, then you're not.
You're abiding by those rules, yeah.
Yeah, like the
I'd
thing.
say default is obligation.
Yeah, but the thing
Not
is,
signed.
at the end of the day, free will and stuff, an obligation. But we're talking about relationships and stuff as well. It's not just like written contracts. For instance, if I told you that I'm going to buy you a car, Hayden, I could tell you that. It seems very honest, and I could do it. I could just tell you, I don't really want to anymore.
We'll change your mind any minute.
Yeah, I think you don't have a legal obligation. If it's ethically wrong, not legally wrong, say, I'm going to buy you a car. JK, I'm not. And it's also...
JK.
It's also morals as well. I don't like breaking promises. I could easily break a promise. I don't get anything bad happen to me.
You just feel like
it's
shit.
against my moral.
You break the morals.
It's against my moral.
Your
to
morals.
break a
Your
promise.
I think fears of commitment, they stem from so many different pathways. They could be emotional, personality traits, trauma, just general, self-esteem or anything like that. Like because commitments can scare people, and they are scary, easier to make sometimes than others, depending on, I guess, the situation, the weight of said commitment.
Okay, let's talk about something heavy, that's heavy-weighted. Let's talk about marriage.
Ooh, yeah,
Commitment to marriage of one other person for the rest of your life. Now, this is something that I haven't struggled with, but I think the fear of commitment is there. I do think that it stems from like a childhood, in quotation marks, trauma, that past events has affected the way I view things. Do you want to chime in? What were you going to say?
Me as your brother, Lachlan also as your brother. We all grew up together and we all experienced... Well, Lachlan probably definitely experienced different to what I did.
It was very different, but yeah.
8 years different. We all saw what a bad marriage looks like and what a bad marriage is. And well, for me personally, I am really picky about who I'd want to spend my life with, and I get in my own head.
So this fear of commitment.
And I ask myself these questions and put myself in these situations.
So like your fear of commitment and your anxiety piles up in your own head about the relationship, saying, what if?
Yeah, like, is it going to last? Is it going to be forever? Like, am I consistently in love with this person? All of these.
Especially when they're in it. Oh,
Yeah,
it's even worse.
for the long run.
Do you know what's
Or at least-
weird? If you don't think about the future and just live life in the present, you could end up living a happy life for the rest of their lives and not
But
have that.
is also a sign of a fear of
Yeah, not doing that.
that don't like talking about the future.
I was just going to say my fear of commitment is obviously stems from a different reason. I'm afraid of commitment to marriage because I'm very indecisive in terms of relationships, and I'm afraid that if I make a commitment to one person, I'm eventually going to let them down. Not in the sense that I'll do something bad, it's just I won't be able to fulfill what they actually want, or what they need, in quotation marks.
Fear of fulfillment.
Yeah, because it's a lot of
you-
pressure because that person is also chose you to spend the rest of their life with. Like, marriage is such a built-up thing that there's so much pressure around it.
It's held so highly in regards to so many other commitments in life. Like, it's equivalent to buying a house, like, you know, like a $1 million house, like, and committing so much of your money and time and stuff towards paying it off.
The thing
like,
is, the difference between those two is that a house is a 30-year stint, which is not forever, I guess, but it's still a big commitment. Kai, just butt in, bro.
Also, with the house, there's no emotional attachment to the house. When I say there's no emotional attachment, it is not a living thing. It does not feel.
It's not morally. It's not your morals.
And not your emotions aren't involved in it as much. I guess you can kind of take away and just think logically about it. But when you're like a relationship, all you have time, effort, money, just everything poured into it, and building. It's so much. If you're in a relationship for, say, 10 years and it doesn't work out, that's 10 years of your life that you could be doing something else, you know?
Yeah, and it's
that in itself is bad.
I was literally about to say, I don't agree with what you said.
Yeah, no, I don't either. No, honestly, if it happened to me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm thankful for the 10 years because I've learned so much from it and I've learned from that experience. It's the way you think about it.
Yeah, but you also tend to stop yourself from getting to the 10-year point because you're like, what if I regret it later?
Can I just ask you a quick question, boys?
Have to end it later.
Do you guys see yourselves, those in a relationship or being in a relationship before, do you guys question yourself, is this still going on the right path? Do you guys constantly do that, or like every couple?
I wouldn't say constantly. I think there's a lot of periods of time where I feel at ease and I feel really good at heart in regards to my relationship. But I mean, I think, you know, something stupid could happen. You know, I think that just means that at the end of the day, I think that, you know, you question it occasionally, but if you question it too much, that means that you're either thinking about it too much or something's not working. I think if you're consistently in your own head being like,
like every day kind of thing.
Is that what you mean? Yeah, like you know, you wake up and you go
like, is this still working?
Do I find them attractive?
Is it healthy to question yourself, let's say, once every 6 months?
That often? No. For me, I probably did it every day.
Yeah. When you know it's a problem.
I purposely look for an... Like, I put pieces together like a puzzle.
Self-sabotaging.
Build myself an out.
So you do have a fear of commitment?
Yeah, I've said
Does anyone else have a fear of commitment out of the boys here?
No, not me. I love commitment.
Lachlan, you have a fear of commitment?
No, I don't.
Okay. No? Loves commitment.
Not towards anything. Okay.
I think this is sarcasm.
Sarcastically. Is there anything in particular
if you loved a girl and you guys got... Like, you wouldn't think twice...
Not really.
Getting married if you love. There you go.
Lachlan, have you ever been in love?
I thought I was once, but no. I don't think I've been.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. It's hard because you consistently have to put yourself out there to get up sometimes. But
I was just gonna say again, we're this is me being me. We are talking about a monogamous relationship right here as well. So this is like, in terms of everything we've just said, we've only looked at the monogamy.
I think monogamy.
Marriage doesn't have to be monogamy. Like, as in, you can get married to multiple people at the same time. That's all I want to say. We're talking about monogamy.
Yes, because monogamy is like 98% of the marriages.
I know that. I'm just saying.
The general populace is monogamous, but yeah. Sorry.
If your commitment is purely for sex reasons, that you don't think you'll be able to have sex with the same person, you can always find.
Yeah, swingers. Go to swingers. Do something like that.
Yeah, you can. There's always solutions to stuff like that.
So again, I wouldn't call that monogamy. I wouldn't call that monogamy. That's
not monogamy.
I have a question for all of you, actually. Commitment, as a whole, is a pretty wide concept. But of course, in relationships, it stems from emotional and physical. And I find that, of course, you know, that's two sides of the same coin in regards to the relationship part. But do you guys ever think about the physical side of things in regards to? I mean, I know Kai probably does, but I didn't mean like, because Kai, you like to build relationships with people first, kind of build a rapport, and then it kind of leads into a. So
Kai always puts through emotional before physical.
It's funny because it's a fest. Anyway, Ethan, what do you want to talk about?
I want to say yes because I feel really, really guilty. Like, I spoke about this in my thing. I feel really guilty if I find someone else attractive. Because I hear a girl talk about how they don't find anyone else and they're literally blinded by how much they love me. And I find other people attractive and I get in my head. Then I quit. That's when I start to quit. I'm like, do I actually love
Yeah,
I don't know.
do you-
Because I feel like
I think
if
it is
I
crazy
don't know.
to believe that you cannot find other people attractive while being in a relationship. It is unhealthily. If someone's that, and they're lying to themselves. There's no way.
Dedication is toxic as
There's no way you
I
can be
don't think
attracted
it's
to one
realistic at
person
all.
out of
Yeah,
8
it's
billion
like,
people.
I understand being more attracted to one person than another, right? But the thing is, at that point, as you just said, in my opinion, it just becomes unrealistic. Like,
the physicality one is so big for me because that was a big reason why my parents' marriage was so bad. Well, obviously there was a really bad mental in their relationship, but the cheating on one another, that's me as a kid. That's how
You saw it all come
me
down
as
to
an
that.
adult. I can see there was going on behind the scenes that
Yeah.
was a big
But as
issue.
you were a kid, you just saw the physical.
As a kid,
you're like,
I just saw.
oh my god, this is the
Why would
whole
they
reason.
cheat? And I would never do that to anyone. And me even having the thought of they're attractive.
But you're allowed to have that thought.
Yeah, but my brain.
I understand what he means. It's like
You're traumatized.
it's like a guilt thing in regards to like the way that
Yeah.
it can push you to have a more negative mindset.
Yeah,
Because-
I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I understand
Yeah.
why you think that way.
And I completely understand as well. When someone's telling you all the time that they love you, and you love, like, obviously when you say it back, you love them as well. Like, you're not being dishonest. But when you hear it constantly, it's just very hard to separate. You know what I mean, Ethan?
Then I literally question myself. I'm like, do I love them as much as they love me? And then I feel even worse.
I've had a lot of
wallow.
that in previous relationships. Like I've had a lot of questioning. A lot of it stemmed from my emotional side because I'm not overly emotional, but I'm usually pretty happy. I don't know. I think a lot of my relationships got ruined because of that fear of commitment to them in the long term because I didn't know if I wanted to waste my time on it. I'm quite lucky in regards to my current relationship. Like I haven't felt like that at all. But it's just previous stuff has been pretty shit in that regard. That's what stems from my fear.
I think it's a lot to do with anxiety and people talking in their own head, saying this is going to be the final person. Like it puts a big question mark straight away and it's like pressure on the relationship.
For instance, right, when you guys have started relationships in the past or even now, do you don't try to, but does your brain carry to the point where it goes, so is this going to be like forever? Is this going to be my last girlfriend, as you just said? Is this going to be the person that I really want to, spend the rest of my life with, commit to, family, house, dogs, blah, 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 whatever else you want to commit to?
I was continuing on from what he just said. It's dependent on where you're at in your relationship. So it's dependent on what you two are actually talking about, whether or not it goes, like whether or not you think it's going to last forever.
If it's a serious relationship, 100%.
Yeah. Like it's about where you're at. Like,
if you want certain
when I go
things.
into a relationship, I'm not thinking straight off the bat, oh, this could be the one.
It's because you're not looking for a serious relationship.
Yeah, no, that's the last thing I'm thinking about going into a friendship, relationship, whatever it is.
I don't think I think about it straight away. I think it comes a little bit into it. I think you're like, when you I don't know, 6 months in, you're like, shit, this maybe could last a certain amount of time, and then you're like, a couple of years in, you're like, whoa, this could be actually the real deal.
Yeah, and but then that's when a lot of for instance, I'm a really big, active, over-imaginative thinker in regards to, relationships, anything really. But for relationships, it can toll on how my brain perceives where I want it to go versus, like where it will actually go.
You mean, do you have anxiety and worries of what happens to a relationship?
No, it's more of a it's too positive. There isn't enough, I'm not pessimistic enough in regards to, this relationship might end. It's very much so like, oh my god, when are we going to move out? Oh my god, when are we going to
but I think that's pretty normal.
Oh my god, I agree, because it also stems from excitement, right? Like, you're excited about your relationship, you're in that honeymoon phase, you're blah, 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 you're doing all this stuff. But like, when you're an adult, it gets easier to realize like how the commitments work, at least if you've done them before. But I think when you're younger and you're growing up, you can kind of get lost in the fact that they could be your forever, but you don't actually know how to do any of the shit that supposedly normal relationships are doing, like when they're older.
I have a question.
Buying a house.
Yeah.
I have a question, boys, for you.
Hmm.
Do you think that our generation coming through is more fearful of commitment than our past generations.
Yep, because this is a weird story to throw in, but even just generally, like, how people used to treat each other back, when my parents were young, just the way that anxiety and social, boundaries and stuff like that that exist so prevalently now. Even just physical ones, like if you touch someone on the shoulder and you're not particularly, friendly with them, or like, you're just trying to get their attention, sometimes people can take that out of context and just roll with it and turn it into something horrible.
How does that relate to commitment?
No. I'm just saying that like the general snowflakiness of the generations now. Everything there's so much negativity. Like there's cheating. There's like a lot.
There was cheating. There's stuff that all that was back.
Yeah, no. But like, I'm just saying there's like, but the thing is because of social media, there's like texting, text cheating, like sending people send nudes and stuff.
It's easier to do.
Yeah, it's easier and there's less repercussions, I guess.
So you're saying that this generation is
too much accessibility.
So it has more accessibility to so if they are fearful of commitment, they can just do it. Like it's really easy to do.
Yeah, and they can either end it as fast as they want, or they can extend it into something else.
Okay, what I want to add is on the social media aspect, it's made temptation more accessible. It's made. If you have a dull moment in your relationship or you've had a fight, you might go on Facebook. You might
or Tinder.
Go on your old Tinder account.
Boot it up.
Like, look at all these women. All this women. I can
look at all morale boost, bro. I'm feeling like
stuck.
shit.
Social media has made it worse in that aspect, where it's made temptations accessible. Also, emotional cheating more accessible, where you can just go on random websites and talk to girls from overseas and stuff. And
or not even overseas. Just
like anywhere, literally any girl.
If you meet them, add Snapchat, bang.
Have this emotional connection online while your partner's in the other room.
I think social media plays a massive part in...
Also wanted to add to Tom's thinking, commitment issues has always been there. I don't think anything has changed. It's just because society has progressed and stuff, we're becoming more aware and people are acknowledging more of these issues more and more through each decade and stuff. Like, I think people are definitely afraid of commitment and...
Okay, so I'd like to chime in here.
Our generation has...
kind of agree with Tom's point but for a different reason. So I think the older generations growing up, there's a lot more expectation for them to get married early and have kids early. And I agree that there is a lot more options nowadays, as we actually talked about last week, as expectation.
What was the episode called?
To have kids or not to
Go watch that episode, guys. Please go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. Yeah, it's one of our best episodes, I believe.
It was really well edited.
Yeah,
whoever
oh my god, incredible.
Yeah. Seriously, Dave?
I'm just saying, whoever edited that last episode,
Alan K.
big PP.
Alan K. Yeah, big PP. All right, carry on.
Anyway, sorry, Lachlan.
No, you're right. I think, it was just different because the amount of expectation, there was just massive expectation for the old generation to finish school, get a job, and then immediately just get married and have kids. But nowadays, there's less of an expectation that to happen. And I also think that there's just way more options available because there's more things to do nowadays. So
life is a lot more adventurous.
And I also want to add, that's a good point, Lachlan. They didn't think twice about it.
No.
That's what they knew. They're like, we finish school, get a job, we get married, start a family.
Yeah. Get it, try and get a good job that's relatively
That was their normal, but now we have all like you said, we have all these options, all this different
because back in the day they didn't have a lot of options.
Because the paths that they have created for us, these are the paths that they've created for us.
Yeah.
We have all these choices that we find ourselves second guessing anything, down to commitments.
And actually, I want to refer back to what I think Hayden, or I think it might have been Ethan, saying about the whole temptation thing in regards to, you could have an argument with your girlfriend, wife, or whatever, and then you could get the temptation from an outside source like a message app or Facebook, Tinder, Instagram, something like that. But I think the problem with that is the person on the opposing side, right, the person that they had the argument with, who isn't, necessarily doing any of that stuff, can also have those really subconscious thoughts where they're saying in their mind, like anxiously, like the person is doing that. Like my significant other is doing that. They're probably messaging another girl, or it comes from trust. It stems from.
Sounds like a toxic relationship that you're describing.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. But the thing is, I think that if you struggle to trust, which it can be, stem from a lot of shitty relationships in the past.
Because that goes into fear of commitment too. Trust. You need trust from both parties for commitment to work, right?
Yeah.
And
trust is so hard to gain nowadays, though. Sorry.
I wanted to go into ways we can fix or work on these issues. With toxic relationships, I don't think every relationship's doomed. Nothing's perfect from the start.
Nothing's perfect ever.
Everything is, but especially when it comes to relationships, people work through shit to get to where they are. You can't go into a relationship expecting them to be perfect in every single way. You gotta work through everyone's baggage, pretty much, to get to where you want to be.
You gotta find the person that you like there.
And work and build them up with you.
Core aspects.
Build together.
The core aspects as well as like the niches.
Therapy. You could do individual therapy where you talk to a therapist about maybe just getting down to the roots of why you may be second guessing everything, or why there might be issues in the relationship or issues with committing to a job or something else. Another one is if it's a commitment issue to a relationship, go to couples therapy. Have a conversation with your loved one and a therapist, or even just you and your loved one. Have an honest conversation with each other. If the more you keep this down, the more it eats at you, the quicker you're going to throw it away. So I think that telling your loved one that maybe you're having these thoughts or ideas or struggling this issue within yourself might help build that love for one another, and it might help surpass it as well. So I think that's a good idea to
I think that's really important. Well, just to build on that as well, I think that being able to talk about it's a big thing. I think that the one thing that people that suffer from fear of commitment do a lot of the time is they fear internally a lot. They don't really externally go, oh yeah, I'm fearful of this, I'm fearful of that. And the thing is, if you tell someone, or at least explain to them maybe what's happened in the past or something like that. I think we talked about this in the episode to do with mental health with Elizabeth, and we were saying that the person who is suffering from the fear of commitment you can't internally just like hold it all in, because if you don't tell someone and you don't vocalize it, you can never work on it yourself.
You're never going to fix the problem.
100%.
You're never going to better yourself.
Kai, you go first and I'll go.
I was just going to say, I agree with everything you've just said, but we're in the certain cases where it's when you know that what you're going to say is going to ruin a relationship, then it becomes really, really, really...
Well, you meant to say that.
With that, Kai,
straight away.
It is so much better to be honest and than to lie to yourself every day and to that partner. So I know it's really hard to pull that trigger and say, I have to do it. But honestly, at the end of the day, you will thank yourself. And if it was meant to be,
they'll thank you as well.
It will work out.
Yeah,
if it's meant to be, it will work out. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Everything happens for a reason.
And I come back to that point where Dos said before about, did I waste 10 years? Like, if you were in a relationship for 10 years and it ends, you haven't wasted 10 years. You've gained a lot of knowledge and a lot of learning.
You are who you are.
Exactly. So I completely understand. I'm just saying that it is very hard. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't mean to downplay it. Like, it is it's much easier said than done.
No, but that's all I wanted to get across. That was my entire point from that.
Yeah. Great. That's good. I'm glad. Also, a big thing with a fear of commitments, a lot of people don't realize they have a fear of commitment until it's too late. Until maybe someone tells them and they're like, oh, shit.
Or they, stumble upon something that's actually really good, but then they jeopardize it or ruin it by it just being, too hard for them to realize it's what's good in front of them, I guess.
I just want to say something just before I forget, and it comes back to what I just said. Just because you're scared to say it as well doesn't mean that you can't, doesn't mean that you should never say it. Like, what I mean is, it's very selfish to be in it for your own self-gain. It's a bit of like a mind, when I say self-gain, I can only talk from personal experience. So I was hurting myself a lot, but I was hurting who I was with a lot more. So what I'm trying to get at is, as soon as you
rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you've realized there's a major issue and you can do it, like you're physically able to do it, do it, because
it's very selfless, I reckon.
No, but it's also extremely, it's selfless to do it, but if you do it too late, or it's a bit of a thing, it's a bit of like, it's a
toss-up.
An equation.
Yeah.
It's like an equation. What I mean is, it depends on the relationship, depends on a lot of aspects, but it's both selfish for it to go as long as it has, and it's both selfless to give up at that point.
And it may seem selfish to pull the plug at that time, but trust me, it's self.
Trust the engineering student to say it's an equation. Anyway, boys, I was going to say, we were talking about therapy and just before we were talking about finding out that you have a fear and that you don't know that you have a fear. And that's a good way to normalize. We should be normalizing therapy, because if you go to therapy once every 6 months and just checking up, you could actually progress and find that out about yourself, which you may not.
That's a big thing about therapy that people don't use it for, is to find out things that they previously don't automatically know. It's like going to a doctor for a checkup, right? They could find something.
The human race is really good at problem solving. We are not good at being proactive.
Yeah.
And a really good example of this is all police forces around the world. They can solve crimes, but they can't really do much to prevent crimes,
That's what
you can do a little. Patrol the streets.
I'd say 90%, over 90% of what they do.
Police being there,
whole human
reactive,
the whole human race. Bro.
Yeah, but police being there is.
You're right.
The thing is about the future is it's unknown. That the biggest thing is 100%. In that situation, the future is unknown, and the outcome you'll never be able. You can theorize what it might be, but you'll never be able to tell what it is, because that's what hindsight is for. Hindsight is used in that situation to, a lot of people use the concept of, someone doing something stupid or a governmental power doing something, and it's wrong, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll fix it. But then people of the general community will go, oh, I could have definitely done that better. I definitely could have done this. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I thought of this 10 days ago before this person said that. And you're like, okay, well, thank you for telling us, 10 days after, the person's already up. Like, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into just some signs you might see in yourself or someone else that could be them having this struggle within themselves or within yourself. One sign is that you don't want to take dating seriously. You can be casual and have sex a lot, but it's when maybe when you're doing it forever, or maybe you found someone that you like and then it actually starts getting serious and then you just cut it off because
the unknown.
Well, that is a sign of maybe you need to talk to someone about something.
Oh, why do you have a fear of commitment?
And
maybe like us,
another sign is
trauma.
You don't want to talk about the future in a relationship. So you're in a relationship and your partner wants to talk about where you're going to go. They want to talk about buying a house together or getting married, and you're like, let's just live in the now. Let's just think about tomorrow. That's future us problem.
Like I did just before.
That's not a good way.
What if we just live in the moment and then you don't have to worry about it?
Like, that is also a sign of you're withdrawing and you have something.
It's a big sign of maturity as well in that regard. But yeah, I think that's them. Well, no, like maturity in regards to how you react to it is a big thing.
Well, it shows you if you have a fear of commitment or not.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
you're saying that commitment is being mature. Like you're ready for commitment.
Well, no, maturity. Commitment comes with maturity. I can guarantee that without a fact. Like I mean, commitment to jobs. Things that
I reckon a preschooler could commit to going to preschool.
Bruh.
Yeah, but I'm saying, the severity between a preschooler committing to going to preschool and and like a 20-year-old going and buying a house, they're two very.
I see what you meant. I see what you meant. Yeah.
If a preschooler can commit to preschool, I can commit to.
Look, I can give you a fucking fact. If you let a toddler go, do you want to stay at home, motherfucker? Or go to preschool? A commitment to preschool. They're gonna stay home.
I'm pretty sure that kid's not gonna.
What do you think about that?
No, that kid's gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm actually committed to preschool, mum.
I'm not.
I've really made a commitment to my education from this early point, so.
Yeah.
He's got an IQ of like 160.
It's like you have 200 plus, and he's just like.
What's the take home?
I just wanted one more topic. I was going to say commitment in terms of within dating. And this is something I do that's only been of recent, is if I'm very upfront about what I want from, I guess, when I say engagement, like when I'm talking to someone, I have to be very upfront because I don't want to hurt them. So pretty much straight off the bat, not straight off the bat, but within first conversations, I will be, what do you want out of this interaction, whether it be long-term or casual, because that's my fear of commitment. I have to I have to be like, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Well, not necessarily my time. I don't give a about my time, but their time. I don't want them thinking something that it's not. So that's where my fear of commitment
I want to
comes.
talk to
There's a fear of ending up in an unsatisfying relationship.
That's a big thing, I think, that probably stems from bad relationships as well, in regards to whether or not that unsatisfying relationship will end, like, just because you just don't feel, reciprocate the same feelings back. Sorry, but what I wanted to ask Kai was, in regards to your prolific, like, upfront casual lifestyle that you live at the moment with your different relationships and such, is there a lot of people committing to you but you not being able to commit to them, like in regards to people falling in love with you, or even just growing an attraction for you to the point where they would actually date you if they could?
This is just from what I gathered. I haven't been doing this for long, but what I've gathered is obviously women are very on their guard, which is fair. I'm just saying fact. Which is completely fair. They don't want to hurt themselves. So as soon as I, generally speaking, go on to the next step, which is telling them a bit more about myself and my whole situation, they definitely back off a ton, which is completely fair. Like, there's no issue with that. But I'm just saying that hasn't happened to me yet because I've been so up.
For our viewers, he's referring to him being not monogamous. Is that correct, Kai?
Yeah, just for anyone who doesn't know, Kai is non-monogamous.
Is that 2%?
Well, no, I don't want to say that I'm not monogamous.
He thinks he's not monogamous, that's all we...
I think I'm not monogamous. So at the point where I establish this, again, I'm not complete at the front right off the bat, and I'm not asking straight off the bat. I assess whether it's right to say these things first. I just don't split these things out. But if I see that it's going somewhere more than just platonic, I insert, i.e. essay.
What are you inserting?
But does that also fit into the category of... Does that also fit into the category of talking about the future that we were talking about, like the fear of commitment to the future? You're stating, like, you're going to talk to this person about those things. No matter how, like we talked at the beginning, in Lachlan's definition, it's a specific amount of time. It varies depending on each commitment, I guess. But in your case, those people that you're technically committing to them when you start, sleeping together, or when you start spending time together and hanging out and stuff. But it's not the definition of commitment that I guess a lot of other people follow.
There's no promise.
There's no promise,
So I'll give you an example. There is a girl that I've said to her, I don't want anything long-term out of this. And I guess she developed more. I at the start said, look, don't know what I want out of this, blah, 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 blah. A week later, 2 weeks later, I said, look, I don't want a long-term relationship. That hurt her, but I was upfront about it. I said that I'm happy for this continue sexually and us be friends. And it's been, 4 months, 5 months since we've slept together, and we're still really good friends. My commitment is dependent on what I've arranged. So it's not the same for everyone is what I'm getting at. I've talked it out. I guess that's the best way to say it.
It's like a contract, right? You do talk it out and see what emotions, where you stand, and then you're committed to whatever that relationship is.
Whatever's presented. And I guess if you actually ever really wanted to as well, you could take it as, as far or, not far as you wanted it to go, I guess. Like, say you felt the same thing, or in a long-term relationship that you were friends with her, you started feeling like you wanted to be monogamous again, maybe, and, you built on that, you realized, like, you had a relationship, a little bit of a relationship before that. They know you well, your friend, you could technically take it into a relationship if they were into you, and then you could build off that. But I think that, as you just said, it's very hit or miss, and it's good. It's really good to be upfront.
Well, I just wanted to end this episode by saying I give off this advice, but know the listeners that I am still working through it. This is something, insecurity of mine that I'm still working through, and I'm trying to use the solutions that I just gave you to benefit as well. So I'm not perfect in any way. I'm still trying to learn and figure out how to make a promise without talking myself out of it. And my advice to you would be just try not to beat yourself up and do what you feel is right always.
That's pretty good advice. My advice to take over this episode, guys, is to be honest with all parties of a commitment, whether it be relationship or financial or whatever. Be honest with the people and be honest with yourself.
Doesn't always mean it's going to end the relationship as well.
100%.
Like we said, there's therapy, there's couples therapy, there's honest conversations can honestly benefit people, but it also can hurt. So don't always expect like they're not going to react badly. They might. At the end of the day, you're doing the right thing.
Any commitment from what we've today, you should really just give it a think, no matter what sort of commitment it is. Think about the time that's going to go into the commitment. Think about how much emotion, how much effort you need to put into the commitment, and really how much you're willing to put into the commitment. I think it's important to regularly reflect upon all the commitments you have.
But not too regularly.
Yes, I think it is important to reflect upon all the commitments you're a part of. I think it's very important to be aware of all the commitments you're a part of regularly.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
If you guys
have a lovely day.
If you guys can go follow us,
please like and subscribe.
leave a review, follow us on YouTube.
Tell your friends.
Subscribe on YouTube. Like us on Facebook.
Tell your homies.
Instagram. So we can annoy
Tell them you love them.
And
And our shout out this week goes to Matt.
Alan Key
Matt, thanks for
is
listening.
our boy.
Yo, thank you,
Matt
Matt.
is our boy, and Alan Key is our boy.
Oh, did we get another review?
Yep, from Matt.
No,
Matt
his
and
brother.
Alan Kay.
Matt, his brother.
Well, Matt's his brother, but
Monkey.
rep it, Matt. Thank you for listening.
Matt listens to the episode.
Thank you,
So
Matt.
thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Shouting out Matt. Shout out to everyone listening to the episode. And
Yeah.
Alan Key.
Thank you for making it to the end of this week's episode. New episode same time next week. The topic will be on honesty. Thank you again. With peace and love, Greg.